I know it's been some time since we did the Myth and Monsters last time, but the series is not dead. It's just I'm looking up things to do videos about to see if they're worth it. So the Myth and Monsters videos will be a lot more sporadic than the other ones. Let's dive right into it. The Mare. Throughout history there has been a lot of demonic entities on people's minds, everything from Skogsrået, a seemingly beautiful woman that lured men into the woods, to the Rawk guarding its place of death from invaders and grave robbers. But few has been so well known throughout various cultures as the Mare, or for you in English, the Mare. The Mare is a supernatural entity that terrorizes people in their sleep, causing anxiety and panic attacks and a feeling of extreme suffocation. The Mare does this through sitting on the victim's chest, which is called that the victim has been ridden by the mare. It is also said to have caused nightmares, hence the name, and the Swedish name for nightmare is mardröm, which is directly translated to mare dream in English. Depending on where we look for the legend, it is gonna differ a bit, and it has a lot of common with the succubus and the incubus, but I will mostly focus this on the Scandinavian, Germanic, Anglo-Saxon and Slavic folklore. In Sweden, the mare usually comes in either the shape of a demonic woman or a cat. In Germany, it's usually more of the type of an imp or a goblin. In some parts of Sweden, the mare was a human that transformed during the night willingly or unwillingly into the demonic creature. As an example, in Västerbotten, Sweden, the local legend is that if your baby girl was born between midnight and 1 AM, it could become a mare. And in Skåne and Halland, owned by Denmark before, the idea was more weird. When the pregnant woman was about to give birth, it was believed that they would get an easier delivery if they pulled the fetal membrane of a foal over their head 3 times. However, that was also upsetting the natural order, which was considered a sin and a child if a girl was born a mare and if a boy could be born a werewolf. It is, as I mentioned before, commonly believed that the mare took over the mind of a girl or a woman while they were sleeping and went out on a ramble looking for victims. There were a few things you could do to try to hinder a mare from getting into your home, as they could creep through almost any crack in the walls or the keyholes of the doors. However, there were some precautions you could do. As it is said that the mare could only enter a man's bed after it stepped into his shoes, it was advised to have the shoes under your bed with the tips pointed outwards, because then the mare could not get into them. The rare nights a mare couldn't find a victim to terrorize, it usually went into the woods to ride trees, and you can, according to the legend, see traces of this. Because where the mare had been, the tree would stop in growth and instead tangle itself up into a so-called witch's broom, which in Swedish is both called häxkvast, a direct translation, and markvast, which is a more common word for it. In the misfortunate case that you were in fact the victim of a mare, there is something you could do to get rid of her, and that was to go into the woods and find a tree with a witch's broom, as it was evidence that the mare lived there. Take a branch of it and let it lie by your side during the night. If you were successful, the mare would ride the branch rather than you, and in the morning you could take that branch and go into the woods and throw it and the mare away. Usually in these videos I eventually try to present alleged cases about the monster I just talked about. However, when it comes to folklore, that part gets a little bit more tricky. But almost every human have had nightmares before, and if you were continuously terrorized by a mare, this would eventually transform into the phenomenon night terrors, which is a medical diagnosis and a sleep disorder. It usually occurs during the 3 to 4 first hours of REM sleep and causes a feeling of dread and fear. It manifests itself as a panic attack or anxiety attack when sleeping, which causes sleep deprivation if not treated. If the mare was particularly strong or you have been terrorized for a very long time, there are cases that talks about symptoms that is very similar to what we call sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis is yet another sleep disorder that usually occurs when you are waking up or falling asleep. The symptoms of this disorder is that you are aware of your surroundings but unable to move, and those who suffer from it usually talks about a feeling similar to that of a panic attack. Another scary thing about the disorder is also that you can see things that aren't there and hear things that aren't real either, which causes even more dread for the victim. As with a lot of folklore, it tries to describe medical conditions, psychological behaviors and phenomena that at the time we didn't have any explanation for, and the Mare is absolutely not an exception of this. I will cover more Nordic mythology and Scandinavian folklore as I continue doing videos. Thanks everyone for watching this video. If you like it or dislike it, please leave a comment or a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitch, Twitter. My name is Tardol on most of the social media platforms. And if you're really awesome, you can support me on Patreon. I leave a link down below. And till next time.